So NBA 2K MyTEAM is now 10 years old. It's been 10 years. And as somebody who has played this game religiously for the past 10 years, I feel like I'm in an okay position to make a full-on documentary. Not just of NBA 2K22, which hopefully will be coming next week, of all NBA 2K MyTEAMs, from NBA 2K13 all the way to NBA 2K22 right now. So yeah, it's been a long journey, lads. We have a lot of different game modes to cover, and this video is taking me so long to make, so long to plan for. So please, if you guys are new, please subscribe. We're trying to hit 300k. But anyway, now let's get on to it. To say the very first MyTEAM was bare bones is an understatement. You literally had Road to the Playoffs, which was basically the main game mode, and Exhibition Games, which was basically playing offline. There were no other game modes in the entire game. The market was about how well a player played, and nothing to do with whether the cards were good in game. So we had Al Horford as the most expensive card in the game. We had LeBron for some reason cheap because his standard was set so high that he went low. And the best player in the game, Gerald Green, was 250 VC, which was literally the minimum price you could get a card for in that game. Players hadn't become cards yet, and players were packed out of booster packs. You get a gold booster, which basically raised your chance of getting a gold player, but you weren't even guaranteed a player in the first place. There was a purple booster pack, which is like 3,000 VC. And VC was cheaper back then than it is now, as far as I'm aware. So, and that purple pack guaranteed a player. Most time it was bronze or silver. The funny thing is that you saw the market there where players went up and down. You might think, how did Legends get purchased? Legends you could only get Legends through these packs right here. That was the only way to get Legends. As you can see, Shake going and pulling a Del Curry right here. So these Legends also, you couldn't sell them in an auction house that hadn't existed yet. These were the same price as like your Gerald Green. They were minimum price. So if you wanted to get rid of a Legend, you basically were selling them for 500. I repeat, 500 coins. But also, that wasn't worth anything. And there was no duplicate. So if you got a duplicate of a player, you just had to sell them straight away. You couldn't do anything about it. In order to play a game, you had to pay a VC salary. So a lot of people were using bronzes because they cost nothing. As well as that, the salary went up for players if you put signature skills on them, which were basically the equivalent of badges. So if you added a badge to a player, basically it meant you had to pay double the amount of salary for said player for one single game. Thankfully, getting this VC wasn't too bad because you could get about 10-20k in 2 hours from doing the VC glitch, which was basically enough to buy yourself a LeBron and sort your contracts. Thank you, Shake. 2K13 gameplay wise might be the worst gameplay we've ever had in a 2K game. Contests, what were they? There was no such thing as a contest. Dunks literally could not be blocked. So once you got into a dunk animation, you either missed the dunk or you dunked it on them. It was literally impossible to block dunks. And worst of all, lads, worst of all, the stupid unguardable Euro step fadeaway 3-point shots. If you shot a fade, if you took some Euro step animation, if you did a step back, it didn't matter. If you had the Acrobat badge and a shooter, it went in every time. You literally were running down the court and shooting Euro step fast break threes on people, and they were going in. Looking back on it, 2K13 MyTEAM was incredibly bare bones. Again, you can see up the top, Goran Dragic and Larry Sanders, the two most expensive players in the game, whereas like LeBron was like 19,000, which was just kind of a crazy situation. A market which didn't really work as intended because, again, Horford was more expensive than near unanimous MVP LeBron James. Almost everybody ran with the same lineups. Legends were unable to be purchased unless it was through packs. This was the most bare bones MyTEAM, but it was a start. This is how we all got our start. Well, some of us got our start in the game. And yeah, that was it for the first year. So 2K14 launched with some major changes. They brought in tournaments, which we haven't seen since. They brought in a schedule mode, which I'm not going to lie, 82 games for like a scrub Sapphire card was not worth it. And also, they brought in leaderboards, which something we haven't really seen back again. I know we saw Supermax, but that was pretty much it. However, there was a few upsides and a few just massive negatives. So as you guys can see from this pack opening right here, packs became way more expensive. Packs were guaranteed gold players, and people were like, okay, that's a fine trade-off. But the market was gone. No longer could you buy players, could you sell players. Every single player you got had to come from a pack, which I'm not gonna lie, was not the best thing in the world. It did mean there was variation in squads, but it also almost forced people to spend money on the game. If you weren't spending money on the game or you weren't doing the VC glitch, again, thank you, Shake, you were getting screwed playing against better teams. As well as that, with no choice really over the players you got, you were forced to use whichever players you got lucky to pull out of packs. You were actually completely unable, and I mean completely unable to choose who you used pretty much. So you weren't able to use some of your favorite players just because you just didn't pack them. Gameplay wise for its time, I would go as far as to say PS3 2K14 is the most balanced 2K we've ever had. They fixed the unblockable dunks, you can now block dunks. They fixed all the Eurostep 3-pointers. Most of the cheese from 2K13 got fixed. But in general, it was one of these things where people played it for a few months just to keep them ticking over because everybody knew the PS4 and the Xbox One were coming out. So people just played this game mode for a little bit. So 2K14 Next Gen was so good that Chris Smoove to this day is still uploading videos on it. In my opinion, in terms of pure gameplay wise, the best 2K of all time, in my opinion, is 2K14 Next Gen. The menus looked better, there were more things to do. They introduced locker codes. They introduced challenges. So you could play challenges, for example, for like a Sapphire Scottie Pippen, a Sapphire James Harden, a Ruby, I can't remember, was it Ruby Steph Curry with a challenge? And then there was also like locker codes for Iguodala, Andre Drummond, Kobe, Kevin Durant, things like that. Gameplay wise, I found it fun, but there was a bit of a duplicate player issue where you could actually run two of the same players, which meant that you often saw, and I mean, I did it myself, 2-3 Michael Jordans in the same lineup because he was like the only 99 overall player. As far as graphics went, this game was beautiful for its time. In my opinion, just the way the lighting was, everything about 2K14, I still think it's one of, I'm not going to say the graphics are the best, because when you look at the players' faces, they're not nearly as good as now. But I think just the best overall look of a 2K game in terms of lighting, still to this day, is 2K21 Next Gen, or say 2K14 Next Gen. The game wasn't without its issues though. So you can see here from this video from Cash, they actually released later on in the year an Emerald LeBron James card who never was in packs. So Cash is out here spending hundreds of dollars on stream for a card that he knew for a fact he was not going to be, well, not he knew for a fact he was not going to be able to get, for a card that in hindsight we look back and he was completely unable to get this card. And then they ended up, everyone who opened one of these packs, they gave them the Emerald LeBron James. So even guys like Cash who spent like $100 in these packs, a couple of hundred, it was just very not great situation there. So online the rewards were still very bare bones with just road to the playoffs. However, they did bring in the first like quote unquote collector level reward. If you got the best player on every team, which it actually didn't work out properly because it wasn't the best player on every team. Like for Miami Heat, you had to get Wade. For like the Grizzlies, you had to get Randolph, who's an 83 overall, instead of Marc Gasol, who's an 87 overall. But if you got the quote-unquote best player, as according to 2K on each team, even though it wasn't the best player, you got a Diamond LeBron James card. Yep, a Diamond LeBron James. The issue with this was that the card looked cool more than anything. I will say that he looked cool. He was the only Diamond you could get. Well, he was completely RNG. You had to get him through packs. He was the only Diamond you could get that wasn't locker code. So I personally only had Diamond Kobe. I didn't even have that Diamond LeBron. But he was a definite unbelievable card for his time. But the means of getting him probably wasn't worth it. 2K14 was also the launch of locker codes. So the first locker code came around Christmas and it was for a Diamond Kobe Bryant. And Chris Smoove got the card, did a gameplay on him. And then 2K eventually released locker code. I think they only released to like 250 people. As time went on, they released more and more locker codes. They released a Durant locker code that kept getting leaked. The code literally just kept getting leaked. People just kept typing in the code before it actually came out. And also there was a Diamond Kobe code that came out in February, which I got. There was a Duncan code, which I never ended up getting. And as far as I'm aware, I think they were the only three like limited time locker codes. It was the start of limited time locker code, or not limited time, limited quantity locker codes, when a certain amount of people could get them. That really picked up in 2K15. But there were also a lot of codes that were unlimited quantity, like Ruby Andre Iguodala, Ruby Andre Drummond. But again, these were really good cards, but it wasn't until 2K15 where locker codes really became the best cards in the game. There were still huge issues of not being able to buy players, only being able to get players of packs. But they did add team packs this year, so you could literally get players from a certain team. Yeah, it was still some more NG, but it was a lot better, for example, than 2K13 as well as 2K14 current gen. Most people had most of the cards they wanted. I think I didn't spend any money on the game, I didn't even do any VC glitches or anything this year, and I still had basically every player I could have ever wanted in my team. So while 2K14 is very, very bare bones by today's standard, it was the step up that we did need from 2K13 to keep the mode kind of alive. Had I not stepped up, I think the mode would have died. However, the biggest step up was to come in this next year. Other than, I think, the gap between, say, 2K18, 19, and probably 2021, the 2K14-15 gap was huge. So 2K15 was the first time the game launched with a MyTEAM pre-order bonus. It was a MyTEAM throwback Kevin Durant card, or if you weren't from America, you could choose a card from one of the many different countries. But you guys can see this right here, and you will see later on that this was the biggest jump probably between one game and another. Before this, you couldn't even sell cards. You could only get cards from packs. But the trailer alone, talking about how you can build your best team, getting every player playing with each other, it set off everything for NBA 2K15. So Road to the Playoffs was very similar. It was very, very similar to what we had in NBA 2K14. Basically where you just played your way up, different rewards, but it was the exact same game mode. However, there was one big change, and it was in the earlier seeds you had to use like bronze and silver players, whereas in 2K14 you could use whoever. And then the biggest addition, the auction house. The auction house. There was actually a 15% tax on the auction house, which was kind of crazy. It's then at the 10%. I understand why there needs to be a tax, because it would kind of screw over the game if there wasn't one, but there should not be a 10% tax. The tax should be 5%. Make it like FIFA. I understand why there needs to be a tax, but a tax definitely has to go down to 5% for future 2Ks. But the auction house was huge. It allowed you to sell players. Domination was in 2K14, but it didn't really mean much because you couldn't sell the players. However, in 2K15, Domination became a really good way to make MT early, just like it is right now. And for completing Domination, you got a Sapphire Nate Archibald. So basically, what Sapphire cards were was just reward cards in NBA 2K15. Nothing to do with tiers. He was a 91 overall card. Tiers and card gems only became a thing in 2K17. Or 2K16, sorry. Then we have got just all the different cards. Like there was packs for all these different cards. We had Throwback Thursday Onyx cards. We had Rubies, which was a promo card. So cards meant different things. We also had like really like a low rated gold players and high rated silvers. A weird one. But then something that this game is most infamous for is the locker codes. So again, you guys can see right here, Pink Diamond, Shaquille O'Neal, the best players in the game. Like there was a locker code or a Diamond Shack, which was one of the hardest cards in the game to get. It was one of those the most expensive card in the game. But it turned out that he wasn't even as good as the Pink Diamond, where if you had fast fingers, you got him. So these guys were some of the most sought after cards. Everyone waited non-stop for these cards, and if you didn't get one of them, you were kind of screwed. I got two that year, Paul George and Steph Curry, but the more Pink Diamonds you had, the better off your team was going to be, and these cards were completely free, literally just code-related cards. Then we also had a lot of challenges for things like Sapphire Yao Ming, Sapphire Dominique Wilkins. They only came towards the end of the year, but this was a kind of cool thing. It's something we had from NBA 2K14. It's something that they took away in the years after this, but we ended up getting like one of the best centers in the game for free. This game also contained the most broken card early game we've ever seen. Because Zach LaVine was a silver, he was able to be used at the start of Road to the Playoffs, and he was the best player in the game. Doesn't matter, he was 74 overall, he was the best player in the game. As well as that, we just had a lot of like, if you could shoot and create your own shot, you were going to be good in this game. It was very difficult to guard anybody. Dunks were OP, zigzagging was OP, fadeaways were OP, three-pointers were OP, step backs, contested jumpers, everything was OP. Then this was actually the first year where we really saw like copy and paste cards. This is something we didn't actually see again until, we didn't see it at all in 2K16. But like, because again, like 99 overall Jordan was a gold card, 98 overall LeBron, a lot of their promo cards ended up actually being worse than their gold cards. And then like you can see here, Gary Payton, two cards are basically copy and paste, and they came out months apart. 2KMT Central was also started in this year, which was the very first database. 2KDB is better now, but MT Central was the very first one. And fun fact, the guy who created this website, 2KMT Central, and myself actually grew up playing basketball against each other in Dublin. We only found this out years later, and we live relatively close, but yeah, our teams would have grown up playing against each other, which was mad. But again, the game very much revolved around the pink diamond cards. Like, as much as we want to say, oh yeah, you could get some god tier cards, and you could, like 98 overall LeBron James, like 40k, because his regular gold card was 98 overall. Like, you could easily survive with the lower tier cards, but some of these pink diamonds like Melo were just god tier. Wagers were also huge this year in MyTEAM. This was the year where, like, really, because the auction house was a thing, collabs became huge in NBA 2K15, as well as that, obviously, wagers were big. At this stage in the game, it was the complete Wild West in terms of, like, coin sponsors and stuff, coin websites. You could wager as much MT as you wanted. There were no coin websites selling coins as far as I'm aware in 15. I think there might have been a few very small ones, but it wasn't that big a thing until NBA 2K16. So 2K really didn't care that people were out there wagering cards, wagering their players, because at the end of the day, it wasn't like it was creating this huge black market, which it ended up doing in the future. So it was very clear from looking at 2K15 that this was the year MyTEAM really made the step up. This was the year we started to see a lot of the big creators play as much MyTEAM as possible. It was before the likes of Chris Smoove, Cash Nasty step away. We saw the growth of Cash, Jesser, Lost and Unbanned, Epic Kai. Obviously, Smoove was booming at that stage even more than he was. He was honestly booming from MyTEAM in 2K15 almost as much as he was from his My career. Like, this mode had become the #1 mode in 2K. And honestly, that wouldn't change until probably halfway through 2K16, when the game became free and MyPlayer took over. But yeah, this mode had taken over as the #1 online game mode in 2K15. Something that I actually don't believe that it regained until probably 2K21 or 22. So 2K16 had kind of a very similar road to the playoffs, pretty much the same, where you had to use lower players in the earlier seeds. And honestly, that meant that this one player right here was used by everybody. A player that we have never seen the likes of again in MyTEAM. And you're looking at these stats, like, these are awful. These are absolutely awful. You got 25 speed. The thing is that there has never been a player with the player build of Simvular since then. The guy had the biggest player build in the entire game. He was like he had the width of 2 players, which was crazy. Simvular got every rebound, blocked every shot. I could play defense because he was literally the width of 2 players. They brought in the Gauntlet game mode, which is very similar to today's Triple Threat game mode, except you actually only were able to pick 1 player, and then the other 2 cards had to be random. Funny thing with 2K16 is that, like, this was the year that a lot of people say is always the best 2K year. But as far as MyTEAM as a game mode, I do actually believe that it took a lot of steps backwards from NBA 2K15. I think other than the Gauntlet, this was overall a worse game mode than 2K15. 2K brought in dynamic ratings, which was their huge, like, new thing, was that players would get their cards updated with roster updates. So every time there was a roster update, the MyTEAM cards would be updated. The big issue with this was that the rosters and stuff did not update as fast as people would like, and it just was an unfeasible thing for future years. Dynamic ratings kind of fizzled out quite early, that concept. There was also weird glitches where players would, like, show as silver cards and end up being gold in game, or vice versa. But in general, this is the first year where, like, everything was ratings, anything above 80 was a gold, so people figured out that after a while. Gameplay wise, Steph Curry ran the show. Steph Curry absolutely ran the show. Almost uncontestable 3-pointers, and, like, uncontestable scoop layups. It was his world and we all were just living it. 99 overall cards. This was the least there's ever been in a 2K game. It was a grand total of 5. I repeat, 5 99 overall cards. Although some of these guys were attainable via, like, the auction house. Some of these were reward cards. Funnily enough, that this is not actually the least amount of purchasable 99 overall cards, despite the fact that there's, I think, is it 4? There's actually a 2K game with less purchasable 99 overall cards. But at this stage in the game, we were still kind of like, oh my god, why is there a Dwayne Wade that can shoot the ball? Like, there was still a lot of realism in the game of 2K16. Then, in kind of a crazy situation, 2K in, like, 2014 promised a locker code when they hit 1 million followers on Twitter. They hit it, no locker code was given, and basically people were all spamming unfollow 2K. People were all trying to get into 1 million followers purely for the code. This was such a big deal that it ended up on Drama Alert, with Keemstar interviewing Cash Nasty and Nick the Bulls fan, which is kind of mental. If you think about it, like there's a 0% chance that anything 2K related will get onto Drama Alert unless it involved like freaking Aiden Ross or something nowadays. But back then, yeah, unfollowing 2K managed to make Drama Alert. So overall, 2K16 was the year that I actually feel was a step back from 2K15 as a game mode. While yeah, the content creators blew up, yeah, the content was great, and yeah, it just is always seen as a good game, I feel like things like there was a severe lack of challenges. There was the Kareem challenges and that was about it. Domination was still a thing, but it was the exact same as the year before. Sure, they had historic domination, didn't really have much. The Gauntlet game mode was a big addition, but I just kind of had hoped for a little bit more from 2K16, and even looking back on it, while yeah, it was great at the time, the gameplay was actually pretty good compared to 15, I just found it a disappointment. So NBA 2K17 went and tried to completely reinvent the wheel. While there wasn't as big of an upgrade between 14 and 15, 2K completely changed the game mode, starting off with the highest rated players in the game being 86 overall. You could not, and I repeat, could not get a player that was higher than 86 overall on launch day. So this brought some balance to the game. People were getting happy with their 84 overall cards. People were happy using these like lower overall historic players, and it's something that I do like. So they brought in a new system. They had all these tiers previously, but now they were all correlated to overalls. However, you guys can see 96 to 99 is Pink Diamond. In February, 2K decided to turn all Pink Diamond cards into 99 overalls and raise almost every Diamond card in the game. So like David Thompson from 93 to 97, and we saw guys going from like 94 to 98. So we saw some like crazy things. As well as that, obviously all Pink Diamonds became 99 overalls. This was also the first year of dynamic duos, and because not every card 99 in every stat in this game, which we saw from like 2K19 onwards, dynamic duos were like really important, and they helped an awful lot. The game mode of MyTEAM Blacktop was brought in. It was literally just the Gauntlet with a new name. Same game mode, new game, and they called it new game. MyTEAM Unlimited, sorry, MyTEAM Online. Not MyTEAM Unlimited. MyTEAM Online was a revamped road to the playoffs, except there was 3 prestiges, and you ended up getting a Tim Duncan card for completing it. A really good player. Then we also had a lot more promos, and promo sets weren't just like, oh, just gold players like they were in NBA 2K16. We had a whole bunch of different tiers. We all got a bunch of Team USA cards, and those Team USA cards unlocked for what is a card we have not seen since. It was a 99 overall, Charles Barkley. Barkley is not somebody that has been seen in my team since 2017, 2K17. I assume that because they had the rights to his Dream Team version, which is why we saw Charles Barkley 2K13 and 17. I'm surprised when they brought the Dream Team back for NBA 2K21, I think, that we didn't see Charles Barkley. But this card was, again, basically 99 in every stat. There was only like 2 or 3 cards that had stats like that, and Charles Barkley was one of them. And those cards were like almost unattainable. Barkley was the rarest card in the game. He was a player that I genuinely did not see. I did not see Charles Barkley at all that year. Auction House, it was a lot different this year, because you guys can see these were the minutes the Auction House would refresh. People said calling 8s and 9s. Auction House refreshed at different time of PlayStation, different time on Xbox, and with that, sniping became a huge thing. People would wait out for those 15 minutes, and once those 15 minutes were there, would get on their filters and try to snipe as many cards as they possibly could. So, in general, 2K17 was just, it felt like a new experience. A lot of people preferred 2K16 and 2K15. I think 2K17 felt like a brand new experience, and it was probably the first of what I would say are like the almost modern MyTEAMs. There were still locker codes, even though Ronnie 2K promised that the locker codes were all going to be timed. They weren't. And there were a lot of locker codes for 99 overalls. Surprisingly enough, there was no 99 overalls in the auction house. To get a 99 overall, you needed to either get a code or get it as a reward. But this locker code here is funny, the Dwayne Wade one. This was a vote for like the March Madness bracket, and Los pushed for Wade to be voted over Rudy Gay, and he got killed for it. But then in 2K17, this screen showed up for a lot of people. This screen really showed up. So 2K tried to like clamp down on coin sponsors and coin selling, and the most famous example of someone getting banned was LSK getting banned for the free LSK situation. So basically, 2K were so harsh with everything that they were banning so many people for no reason. Like every sniper who made a lot of MT got banned. Yeah, a lot of bans were justified, but but they were banning so many people for absolutely no reason. And this killed wagers, which kind of killed the mode on YouTube. In terms of gameplay wise, the Limitless range badge was one of the most broken things ever. You just shot the ball. And it wasn't like nowadays where if you're shooting from this range, you kind of have the green. Greening barely mattered in this game. I'm not going to say it didn't matter at all, but it barely mattered. You would make almost every single open white in this game from as deep as possible. We think shooting's easy now. Shooting was so easy back then. At least now our players all have 99 ratings. This was also the first year of the 5-out. We had some stupidly overpowered cards like this Kareem Abdul-Jabbar who shot well. We had a Thon Maker who you could easily run a point guard and he would ball out. All centers could shoot. 5-out became the meta. It became incredibly difficult to stop anyone in this game. You could shoot limitless fades with the likes of Ray Allen and stuff. It was just, towards the end of the game, we realized just how broken as a game 2K17 was. So 2K17 was an interesting experiment. Something that I don't think was too bad. Obviously, towards the end of the year, we got it was the start of like us getting unrealistic cards. But I didn't mind it. Like, I didn't mind the fact that you couldn't get 99 overall cards in packs. I was completely fine with the fact that, like, the pace of the game was slower. You started off with like Sapphire and Ruby cards. One thing that did kind of annoy me, if we're being honest, was the whole banning situation. So many people getting banned for absolutely no reason. But 2K17 I do feel was quite a decent MyTEAM mode. So 2K18 started with basically just the dev blog and learning about cards. And one thing I noticed straight away, I remember talking about this back then, was that sometimes there were lower overall cards which were more expensive in terms of Supermax, which was weird. They released a draft type mode pack in playoffs, which was terrible. Even though their new draft is basically just a slightly better version of this. This was an awful game. No bench, no stamina. You can only pick one of two players. It was really, really weird. But Supermax was an interesting system. It was all based on points for wins and losses. However, you started off in a basement points. You gained points for wins, lost points for a loss. There were a load of weird situations where there would be people with records of like 150-3, and they would have lower overall points than people with a record of 4-0. Because if you were like 100-0 and you lost one game, you would lose so many points because your record was so good. And it basically meant that like once you went like 5-0, it was better off to stop playing the game entirely. That if you kept playing on past 5-0 and you lost one game, you would lose so many points that you would probably need to win like 10 more games to get back to the level you were at. And it didn't matter how high you were, it just mattered that you ended in a certain tier. So it basically was deterring people from playing the game. And another weird thing with this was players' salaries were based on how much they were used. And every single player that was in packs went up. So what ended up happening was you could only use guys from the newest packs because 99 overalls from the new packs cost less than golds from the start of the year because every card just went up in price. Nothing ever went down. So it was just a really just awkward game mode. And a lot of people are saying, oh, Supermax needs to be tweaked. We learned from draft, from them trying to tweak pack and playoffs. They need to build something from scratch. Otherwise, 2K, I'm very confident they just try to rebuild on this 2K23. It's going to be a disaster. So then in terms of the packs, they did it a different way this year where they started like drip feeding some historic players in. They didn't release like 2 teams at a time. What they would do is they release maybe like 10 different historic cards every single week. And I didn't really mind this because it meant that they could have higher rated historic cards and just release them later when there were cards better than Sapphires in the game. So Killzomoy was the first person to complete Domination this year. The guy barely slept for like 4 days completing Dom. And Domination actually got you a really good reward. It got you a Wes Unseld card. And you might be thinking nowadays, like, how is Wes Unseld a good card? He's like a 6'7" center. The thing is that back in NBA 2K18, there was no position lock. So everyone just played Wes Unseld as their shooting guard. He was a god tier diamond shooting guard in an era where like every single card was a Sapphire. So that's one of the things I liked about like 2K18 especially, is that if you did want to grind these rewards, and even 2K17 with David Thompson, you would get a really, really good card. Because in a land of Sapphires, using a diamond or a pink diamond was going to be an absolute just force. It would be an absolute force in that meta of the game. So, then we had a really interesting thing later on in the year. They actually gave out free cards from 2K TV. So you would like answer some questions, you get free cards, and you actually get some really good cards. There was a Sapphire Thon Maker that was really good, a Sapphire Marquise Chris that was really good. Ruby Kenny Smith was okay. And I like this Tobias Harris as well. So this is the first year of the walkout animations as well. But like, these were cards just for answering questions on 2K TV. A little bit of an awkward one that if you got like one question wrong, You couldn't, over like 5 weeks, couldn't get any of the cards, but any of the following cards, but it was weird. But yeah, then this happened in January. So you guys can see right here, Shake goes and pulls a 99 overall card. At this stage, this was the third 99 overall card in the game. And this was the first non-limited 99 overall card. So there were an awful lot of cards that were limited cards in 2K18 that they were like only like 1 of 80. I think Kobe's 99 was like 1 of 8. So like these cards were all extremely expensive. And then there was a glitch. They were meant to have taken Harden out of packs. I think this was the 60-point triple-double game. But they were meant to have taken Harden out of packs. And instead of taking him out of packs, they programmed it so that he came out of every pack. So instead of basically removing Harden from packs, whatever way they tried to code it, they miscoded it. And instead of taking Harden out of packs, they put Harden into every pack. So like there were legitimately people that were opening 10 pack boxes and getting 10 James Hardens. So this card, I know a lot of people that for their whole year that was their MT, that they just bought a bunch. They bought like VC, they got 20 James Hardens, they sat on those Hardens for like 2 months. They also for like 400k each. It was their MT. But this game, surprisingly enough, came out on the PS3 as well. This was the last 2K MyTEAM on the PS3. A bunch of players didn't have pictures. Jokic was a 91 overall bronze. I can't remember who it was. I think it was D Rose, because he had not had a great season in 2017-18, because it was the year with the Cavs. He was like a 72 overall gold, whereas we had a 91 overall bronze in Jokic. It was just really weird. And yeah, this apparently was Quinn Cook. There's a lot of bald white guys in this game. But then, yeah, 2K18 was just an interesting year. I think it was really kind of ambitious for 2K, is that they tried to reinvent the wheel and failed miserably. I don't think necessarily that this is the like worst year of MyTEAM. It's up there, but I think a lot of what they did with Supermax and basing the whole mode around that and doing a lot of other things, I think 2K really tried to reinvent the wheel, and they fell flat in their face. I don't even like looking back on it. I always say I'd rather see them like fall flat in their face and try something new than give us the same again. But I mean, after looking at 2K18, maybe more of the same is not the worst thing in the world if this is what's going to happen when they do try to innovate. So 2K19 had a few new things in the game. This was what I would call probably the first of the modern MyTEAMs. So tokens were huge. Basically, a lot of the game was built around tokens. A lot of these emeralds were good. Also, you guys can see Galaxy Opal Will Chamberlain. Ambush was the first person to get this. A brand new tier, and the fact that you had to grind your ass off to be the first person to get the card was actually nice as well. There was also a token glitch later on in the year where if you didn't have Ruby Rick Barry, when they ended up giving him a pink diamond card, you could actually just take him, even if you weren't at the pink diamond. As you can see, like I'm nowhere close to being able to get a pink diamond, but I have pink diamond Rick Barry in my collection because, well, it was a glitch. They brought in heat check players this year, a gimmick that just never worked. Honestly, I don't think anyone has ever cared about heat check players. No one cared in 2K19, no one cared in 2K20, no one cared in 2K21, and you better believe nobody cares in 2K22. They are collection fodder. So, Unlimited. This was the first year of MyTEAM Unlimited with the original 12 and 0 system. I didn't mind it. I think it was okay. It was definitely better than Supermax, but I still think it was a very flawed system, and I hope they change it next year because the current system is somehow even worse than this. And while this was going on, EA were out here. Like 2K were innovating, EA were putting Spice Adams in the game and expecting that NBA Live could compete with 2K. Yeah, I'm not sure the Professor and Spice Adams are really going to compete with NBA 2K, but sure, that was EA. There was an invisible Kobe Bryant to start this game. So when Sapphire Kobe Bryant came out for the first legit 3 days, this wasn't even a quick fix. For the first 3 days, he was invisible. The very first 250k tournament took place this year, and it was a 250k tournament. Like, I was going to say, oh, it was a disaster, it was ran terribly, but I mean, it's been 4 years. The exact same problems, week 1 in 2K19. Stalling, people getting disconnected, games not counting, just people randomly getting kicked, are still problems. Then we have got the anniversary set, which was a really interesting set. It ended up locking in for a Shaq, but like these were the first like really big cards this year. A lot of great anniversary pink diamonds. to lock in for a really good card. But the best player in the game at this time was Hito Turkoglu Amethyst card. So basically, Hito Turkoglu had a release called base 11. You guys can see he jumps really, really high in a shot. And there was a glitch in the game where, because he was 6'10", nobody under the height of about 6'6" could even get a slight contest on him. You would just shoot over smaller players, a little bit like Luka in today's game. But like, Hito Turkoglu was just an unguardable player. He was so unguardable that 2K literally patched him. Like, his release looked smooth. It was Kyrie's release. It was good after they patched him. But once they patched him, he no longer was glitchy. Like, he was the most unguardable player in all of MyTEAM. Like, guys were running him in the 250k tournament. You were seeing 99 overall cards there in the game, but mostly were running your offenses through Hito. And then we had the situation. I'm going to spend quite a bit of time talking about this, lads. But this was when 2K went full-on Grinch mode. When Ronnie 2K became the damn Grinch. When 2K stole Christmas. Lads, I don't know if a situation like this will ever, and I mean will ever, be repeated by any video game. But 2K literally stole Christmas. It was getting mainstream media attention. What happened was there was a locker code that somebody got for a pink diamond LeBron James. I think they got it from like getting like a toy or something, or a pair of shoes. But it was meant to be a one-time locker code. But it turns out that locker code was unlimited quantity. It turned out that anyone who typed in the code was going to get themselves a pink diamond LeBron James. So all of us woke up on Christmas. We thought it was a Christmas gift. Honestly, so many kids locked in or got this and thought it was a Christmas gift. The amount of people that started playing MyTEAM because of this. Oh my god, we have a free pink diamond LeBron James. And ironically enough, this pink diamond LeBron James wasn't very good. There were diamond LeBron James cards in the game that were better than it. So it's not like he was a very good card. But everyone was happy. So many people were happy, being like, oh my god, 2K gave us a Christmas gift. So what did 2K do? They sent one of their developers into the office that night to delete LeBron from everyone's accounts. So people woke up the morning after this situation with their LeBron gone. The amount of like Reddit posts of people being like, I just bought 2K, I just bought 2K for my son. He got a LeBron James card. I was looking up this Reddit and saw LeBron. Where's his LeBron gone? He's really upset. Like, the amount of little kids that were like, just got the game for Christmas. I got this LeBron, and then for 2K to take it away. Literally the Grinch situation. A situation that will never be repeated. A situation that I still can't believe 2K took away the LeBrons. But they kind of made up for it. If you were like a hardcore player, the fact that you got a whole bunch of MT, minimum 25k, which was great, as well as a pink diamond card, which was going for a minimum of 100k at that time. You actually probably, other than Iverson and Ben Wallace, all of these other guys were better than LeBron James. So a lot of people were like, oh, they made up for it. And from the perspective of a hardcore player, they did. But I mean, like, if you're a kid, you want to use LeBron James, they still should have never done it. They then went and released these like signature limited cards, which signature series packs were like 5 the same card, and signature limited cards were like go, or like endgame cards right now. Well, actually no, more like go cards. Every Hall of Fame badge, every stat 99. The only difference was they didn't have Setra 25 base 3. They actually gave the Raptors cards for winning, which they didn't do for the Bucks or the Warriors this year, which is annoying. And then, yeah, it ended on a freaking Shaquille O'Neal point guard type card. No position lock, so you better believe people were playing Shaq at point guard. Shaq could shoot the ball, Shaq could handle the ball, Shaq could run. So 2K19 was overall a pretty good year. I'm not going to go out there on a limb and say like it was some god tier year in terms of like the content, but gameplay was really fun. It was a fun year for 2K, and the game was constantly going on sale, $3 at one stage, so there was a very big player base. So I think that's why a lot of people enjoyed it, and I'm not going to lie, it was a pretty good year. So 2K20 started off with one of the biggest like drama situations ever. The gambling commercial. I'm sorry, lads. The gambling commercial almost got the game mode of MyTEAM entire mode delayed at launch. I remember, this is back before 2K hated me, being at a 2K event and asking somebody, is MyTEAM going to launch with the game? And they literally said that they were not sure. That is how big a deal that this commercial was and how bad of a look it was. So there was position locks in the game this year. they kind of meant something until like February, where we got like point guard Giannis and point guard LeBron James. So yeah, I mean, position locks haven't really meant anything at all this year, do they? At the start of the game though, position locks were a thing, but it didn't matter because all you had to do to win every single game was get Mirasan. He was the fastest player in the game because how the game worked. He would run by everybody out of the basket and you literally couldn't stop him. 250k tournaments yet again was broken. Congrats to Skip to my Lou, rest in peace, for winning the 2K19 one. Congrats to congrats to Jomar for winning this year's, but again, qualifier system completely broken. Same flaws as other years, and I remember I didn't even get my top 100 award because you automatically got bumped to the end no matter where you lost, which is really weird. They released Moments of the Week, which was a really cool concept, something that a lot of people liked in the game because they didn't release like regular Moments cards. And then funnily enough, when they canceled Moments of the Week, they said they were going to replace it with regular Moments cards, and we never got regular Moments cards. But Moments of the Week is a really interesting concept because every week when a player had a good game, we were like, okay, maybe they're going to go and get themselves a Moments card. And we were all very happy about this, but it clearly didn't make as much money as 2K thought because within a couple of weeks this was scrapped. I think it only lasted like 8 weeks or something. And then we had New Year's resolution. So realism kind of went out the door when there was a set literally to be unrealistic. Once you evoed a player, they became good at something they were previously bad at. So non-shooters became shooters, non-defenders became defenders. Realism kind of went out the window with these. But in general this year, it was pretty decent. Like, they were giving out a lot of free 99 overall cards. And like a lot of free cards with decent badge counts meant a lot because you couldn't add badges to players in NBA 2K20. Which again is something that people kind of take for granted now. There was no badged out cards. People were what they were. We got our first Galaxy Opal impacts on All-Star Weekend. It was Michael Jordan and it was Vince Carter. Neither of these were particularly god tier cards. I mean, Jordan could defend. That was really it. Vince just sucked in general in that game. But it was interesting getting cards that high overall that early. So up to this point, 2K had been doing alright. And the game was fine. It was an okay position in general. A lot of some of the fan base were happy, some weren't. And the pandemic hit. And 2K really stepped up their game. Because within a week of the world being locked down, we got Spotlight Sims. Spotlight Sims in 2K20, when we were all locked inside, kept us so occupied. It got us some great cards. And it was really cool. Obviously, 2 hours for one card is way too long nowadays, especially if the card is like a 95 overall in March. But it was really cool for its time. As well as that, if you completed Spotlight Sims and you completed the historic Spotlight Sims, you went and got yourself a Kobe Bean Bryant Go card. Like, the card genuinely sucked, but it was still cool to get Go Kobe, especially in 2020. And then, right before that though, 2K hit us with the biggest troll we've ever seen. They gave us a Pink Diamond Kobe Bryant card for Mamba Day. And this was the worst Pink Diamond card in the game. The guy didn't have clamps. He couldn't play defense. He was literally worse than some Sapphire cards. I don't know what they're doing. Eventually we got an Evo for this card, but it was one of the worst Pink Diamond cards I've ever seen in my team. Then, to start May, right after these Spotlight Sims, we got the be-all and end-all as far as 12 and no rewards are. We got Glensky. We got a player that was literally, like, epitomized everything about this game in terms of, like, the meta. You're looking at the guy, he had Wade base, he could dunk, he could play defense, he had every key badge, he had range extender, he could shoot fades if needed. Glenn Rice was that freaking dude in NBA 2K20. And then we saw the bots. So cards like Shaq and LeBron came out, and the coin site bots really took over in 2K20. Like, coin sites had always kind of been a thing, but in 2K20 they really took over, and what they started doing was really manipulating the market, bidding up all these expensive cards so people would spend more, which they still do to this day. We all know about the bots now. Then we got, like, completely unrealistic Go Kareem, the best card out for his time ever maybe in my team. There was no alternative. You just couldn't guard him. You would just run to the basket, you would just dribble glitch by people, and it was a score every time. Dynamic duo packs came out and they were completely broken. Like, people were genuinely out here pulling like reward cards. People were pulling that Kobe that people spent 120 hours on grinding. It was the weirdest situation ever, and there was a lot of just weird things that happened at the end of NBA 2K20. I think there were just so many players. 2K were trying to do so much that there were a lot of weird situations. So as far as like free players, there was like Players Club, which was again something that really was not the greatest thing in the world, but it was some form of content. And we actually did end the year getting quite a lot of good things. Like we got these token packs, which we were all kind of hoping for something similar to that this year. It was just too late this year. Like in the 8th of August, we've already had the Go packs. If 2K this day last week had released 1,000 tokens guaranteed endgame pack, everyone would have been so hyped. So damn hyped to that. I know they couldn't because of the way that they were like releasing the stuff on Tuesday. But then there was the Go packs to end the year, which was a really, really cool thing as well. Everyone was able to get these Go cards. Some were going for like 7, 8 KMT. 2K20 was also the first year we saw rookies coming into the game on draft day, or what was meant to be draft day. It was a really interesting thing, and the amount of hype for these were crazy. Obviously, there's still hype now, but not as much hype as there was in 2K20 because no one saw it coming. Then obviously, the best locker code of all time, Opal Lynn. So 2K20, I think, was a huge step up. I think it wasn't the greatest year until the pandemic hit, and then MyTEAM became a huge focus. Obviously, they saw the dollar signs potential. The game came out free on PlayStation Plus in July, so a lot of people were playing it, and in general, I had a good time playing 2K20. I'm not gonna lie, I really did have a good time playing it. Was it the best game? No. Did I mainly enjoy it because I was trapped inside and couldn't do much else? Yeah, but I mean, I enjoyed it. It's all that matters. So NBA 2K21 again was an extremely interesting one because this game had a lot of hype because 2K20 had a lot of players. So people were really looking forward to it. And the season concept, huge. From just seasons alone, we knew MyTEAM was going to be a completely new mode. But the start of the year, like the one thing everyone could talk about was nobody could shoot. Except me. I was playing games where, guys, you can see how open I'm being left. Everyone played pack the paint on defense. Nobody could shoot. And I was out there shooting 9 of 11 from 3. There's a reason why week 1 DBG was the damn best player in the world. You can't expect me to talk about 2K21 and not that. But then we had the very first level 40 reward, which might to this day still be the best level 40 reward of all time. Stephen Curry was so good that if you didn't have Steph Curry at that time, you pretty much were going to lose to most players who had Steph Curry. And then on Halloween, 2K trolled the living crap out of us. Like, they said midnight Pacific time, something spooky's coming. And do you want to know what it was? It was a James Harden in packs in limited time. And they forgot to put him into packs for like an hour, which was hilarious. So then Next Gen came out, and everyone who got Next Gen, we were just kind of confused at it all. The game felt so different. Next Gen literally felt like a mixture between two. It felt like if a better development team had developed NBA Live. We got retro packs, I think it was in season 3 of that year. Retro packs were something we all loved as like hardcore players, but I think the reason why they got rid of them was because if you weren't like a hardcore player, there's no reason to buy retro packs, especially like 2K13, 14, 15 cards. So I can see why, like I loved them, but I can see why 2K didn't have them this year. I would have liked one single retro pack through the year, but I think retro 1, 2, and 3 was probably a little bit too much. Then in January, Terry freaking Dishinger, lads. 2K put the best player in the game on the vault. And I'm not even kidding, they literally put the best player in the game. This guy was just god in game. Terry Dishinger was a freaking joke. I played 900 games for him. Splash Edition played like 2,000 games for him. And I mean, Terry Dishinger hit the damn dagger for Splash in 250. So for him, I'd say it was definitely worth going for the grind. But Terry was just on another level. Like, there were a lot of good cards in the game at the time, but Terry was so good. And he was just behind RNG, which was so annoying. From Season 5 onwards, the game kind of struggled to work. In like Season 5 and a lot of Season 6, there were a lot of error codes. Basically, every time there was any sort of hyped content, the game just had error code, error code, error code. And one thing I do like about 2K22 is that has very rarely happened. It's happened a lot less now than it used to be honest. For the 250k tournament, I'm going to focus more on it this year than the other year because it had the matchup of dreams. So the actual tournament had some weird situations, like people playing on others' accounts and nearly winning the whole damn tournament. Ty or Joe Mar coming back from the dead to play Ty, and then Ty playing the game of his life.
and then a tie versus Splash final, where Splash shot a straight arm where he could have won, but tie pulled it out. During that, they announced the worst rewards ever. By the time these were announced, like, people had already put in millions of MT into getting their cards and spent like tens of hours grinding for certain hero cards. And I remember 2K very like vividly were talking about like, stay tuned for the reward, it'll be worth it, it's a never before seen reward, when they were talking about it in the dev blog. And because of the way they talked about this reward, and it was so bad, like, I stopped trusting anything the dev said because of how bad this was, and like how much MT and real cash people put in to get to, like, they only announced it like a week before the card actually came out. I just lost all trust. They gained it back in 2K22, but I lost it all. A lot of it in 2K21, sorry. Then Glitched Reality leaked. Glitched Reality was the Season 6, and the menus changed for just one random person, and he sent me videos of a bunch of things, and this was like 3 or 4 days beforehand, which was kind of crazy. But during that season, we got a bunch of things that we thought were mysteries. We got a bunch of these, like, we were like glitch hunting, we were mystery hunting. It turned out that it meant sweet FA. Everything we were hunting for meant nothing. We had all these like freaking alphabets. We had basically everything sorted. It turns out it was all luck. How to get Tyloo, get lucky. Type in codes backwards. It was ridiculous. Then Warped Reality came out, a set which basically meant that 95% of cards that came out before the set were worthless, which came out in April. It was way too early. That Bull card was still a top 5 card in the game at the end. It was way too early for a set like this to come out. That Bull was last year's version of Luca. Season 7 kind of picked it up. A lot of free content and a level 40 that was available day 1, which is really interesting. And Season 8, oh, don't get me started on Season 8. So Trial of Champions literally was about this like scoring contest. It was meant to be only in triple threat, and then it was like in all game modes. And then they gave a challenge for Dame on the last day, so that they rigged it for Dame to win. And I remember that was like the only thing they mentioned in dev blog. The dev blog was just them saying stay tuned constantly. And after what they'd said about the Phil Jackson reward, I was literally like in my dev blog review, I was like, don't trust don't trust anything here. Wait till we see it. And yeah, I've been blacklisted from 2K ever since. So this one dev blog is a big reason why I was blacklisted. At the same time, I wasn't wrong with anything I said. I was definitely wrong with how I said it. Everything I said was right. We then got a Nurkic card, who was a copy and paste of his pink diamond card, which was a free card from like 6 weeks earlier. He had the same badge as a diamond. Then we got Beyond level 40 during that season, which I thought was a really cool idea. But the issue was that one of the challenges involved you basically spending 400k MT on players. It was, I'm not even joking. Like, if you didn't have 400k MT of players, you weren't able to complete one of the challenges. So even though it was all Beyond level 40 grind, it was stuck behind a huge paywall. Gauntlet Spotlight Sims were one of the biggest things of this year. Triple Threat Spotlight Sims were fun. They were very, very fun. Regular Spotlight Sims were okay at the All-Star break. They were what they were. But these freaking Spotlight Sims, these Gauntlets, they were unbelievably difficult. Everyone struggled with them at different stages. This year, Golds are invincible very easy just because of how good the gold cards we have are if you've done Zero Gravity. But I'm just telling you, this Taco Fall was maybe the best card in the history of MyTEAM. And it was a free card if you were damn good at the game and you put in the grind. It was a great, great card. So I was happy with that one. We didn't get Gauntlets really this year, which is annoying. But then they trolled us. They released the 3 worst Invincibles. So Invincible packs were going to come out. Invincible endgame packs were coming out. And every single Invincible at this stage was really good. Except Iverson. So what did 2K do? They put in 3 terrible Invincibles. And made these 3 and Iverson come out of 95% of the packs. It was a joke. And they genuinely, this is the biggest troll they've ever done. The more I look back on 21, the more I think where it's like, okay, it just needed a few tweaks. And it would have been a great game. Because there were a lot of huge major flaws that they kind of ironed out. This game mode was a lot less polished in 2K22. However, a lot of the big flaws like Unlimited and Limited just being bad modes weren't really fixed for 2K22. Speaking of 2K22, I'm not going to go over this in like too much depth because I'm going to be doing the documentary at the weekend. But 2K22 was a game that a lot of people got super hyped from reading like the devlog, and I actually don't think anything that like 2K announced, any of the like new things they brought out in day one were really the greatest things in the world. And like all the good things were stuff that was carried over from other years. So I personally said it at the time, grading and hollows were a complete gimmick. I know a lot of people were hyped, and that's one of the things that really annoys me just in general about people before the game's release, is that people really get hyped on the gimmicks and don't realize like what things can be good and can be bad. So this was a gimmick. The draft mode came out and it was terrible. I still think this is the worst draft mode in history because it is Pack and Playoffs 2.0. We hated Pack and Playoffs so much they removed it in NBA 2K19, and then when they brought it back 4 years later, they decided, you know what, let's go and basically make the same game mode where you can only pick 2 out of 3 cards. You got even less of a choice of players. At least it was 1 of 2 in NBA 2K18. But yeah, not fun in my opinion. Then there was the worst game mode in the history of MyTEAM, TTO the 100. A game mode where winning was not the aim. Nobody cared. Like, it did not matter whether you won or lost. Like, it was better. Like, if the score was 20-20, you were better off shutting down your console than playing out the game. Because if you shut down your console, you only conceded 21 points. If you didn't shut down your console, you conceded a minimum of 22 points. I'm not even kidding. It was a game mode where if you won 27-25 in a nail biter, it was actually worse than losing the game 21-0. Thankfully, they improved it later on in the year, but this was the worst game mode in MyTEAM history. And I know if Ty Diva is reacting, he's going to say it was great. But Ty, if you are reacting, you are literally a 2-time 250k champion. The fact that you were able to win does not mean that like it was a good game mode. I remember I had a record of 37-1. I made it to the last game once. Clutch Time came in Season 3. And it was a really fun game mode. I really enjoyed Clutch Time when it first came out, more so than now. A big issue with Clutch Time right now, again, is just that the court's too small for the giant demigods. But when it came out, there weren't any real demigods, and I felt that the game worked well. I felt the pace of the game was good. It's just the bigger players are, the more demigods are, the harder it gets to score on a smaller court. So it's a game mode that can be very frustrating, and as the year went on, I think it became more and more frustrating. But it's a game mode that I really enjoyed, especially when it first came out, to be completely honest. But with this game, realism kind of went out the drain week 1. So week 1 of this game, shooting Dikembe came out. So in a game that was really based on mashing, you could 5-out and mash with Dikembe, which was scary, and it was week 1. It was week 1. Free content wise, 2K have at times done a really good job. So I think they did a really good job in season 6 and 7. They did a decent job through season 5 and 4, where they gave us like a couple of like big grinds, like the Tatum grind, the Ralph Sampson grind. So I think free content they did quite well. 6 and 7 I really liked. It was just consistent free content. Season 7 we obviously got like our spotlight, or basically our spotlight sims, the Gauntlet challenges, and I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed 6 and 7. In terms of things being consumer friendly, these are the most consumer friendly packs there's ever been, these equal chance packs. I'm against packs. I cannot wait for the day that they're banned from all video games that aren't 18 plus. But at the same time, even I can admit, as far as things being consumer friendly, this is the most consumer friendly packs have been. As well as that, obviously, we had the guaranteed Galaxy Opal packs earlier in the year, the guaranteed Pink Diamond packs. I like them. I genuinely like them. Season 8 though, oh, don't get me started on Season 8. I made too many videos and I'll be ranting about it in the documentary at the weekend for a while. Including today, where they decided to end the year by just trolling us, giving us absolutely worthless packs for a crap load of our tokens. Oh, bad year. Bad end to the year. Bad into a good year. So in general, I like 2K22 MyTEAM. I think 2K22 was probably the least wrong. Like, the game worked most of the time. And like, that's kind of the thing at the end of the day. There was less server issues than ever. The game worked better than before. There were less spelling errors than before. There were less weird errors than before. I just don't like some of the I don't necessarily like the direction the devs went at times, but I think it's been a good year. So we've come a long way. We've come an awful long way since the days of NBA 2K13 MyTEAM. And if we're being completely honest, we've come a long way since the days of NBA 2K20 MyTEAM, with the introduction of seasons and a lot of other things. But 2K22 has been a solid year. I think MyTEAM in 2K23 hopefully is a lot better, because I think 2K did a lot right towards the end of 2K22, and I'm hoping that year number 11 is the best so far, because I think 2K22 versus 2K21, it's a close one. I think the 2K23 really is a make or break year for me anyway. For me, I think there will always be people playing this game, but for me anyway, as someone who has been playing this game religiously for 10 years, I think I'll probably see out 2K23, and if that game is bad, I will really, really look to diversify out of this mode. So anyway, yeah, that's the video. Thank you guys for watching. Please like, comment, and subscribe.